You can tell when someone does not really know the business because you can feel the detachment. So just like, social media marketing is great when you have someone who really understands your small business, it's going to be really great if you have a graphic designer that really understands your small business.
Hey everyone, welcome to the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, where we celebrate the S.O.B that you are, and if you haven't figured it out yet, we mean small-owned business. We don't mean S.O.B.
Listen, we know that as a small business owner, you are working hard on the daily to keep your business fully operational while trying to promote it. And while some days it may feel like the business is owning you, if we're being honest with each other, I bet you would admit that you wouldn't give up the insanity for anything.
Our commitment here at the S.O.B Marketing Podcast is to give you the real talk, what works when it comes to advertising, marketing, promoting your business, and then what doesn't really work.
And Chelsea and I promise to always keep the conversation real. Welcome to another episode of the S.O.B Marketing Podcast. This is not the son of a podcast. This is a small-owned business marketing podcast. So if you're looking for that other one, it's not here on this channel. But we want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're a small-owned business and you're looking for marketing information, tips, and strategies, or just want to come hang out with us every Wednesday. We'd love to have you. So hit that subscribe button, and then also be sure that if you have any future topics that you want us to cover, you can email us at help@theseasonedmarketer.com, and you can find us on all social media platforms at The Seasoned Marketer. So here with my beautiful sister, Chelsea. Hey, Chels.
Hey, Vivian. What are we talking about today?
Let's start by covering letter form, design history, typographic, visual communication, design rhetoric, motion graphics, advanced media. These are all classes that somebody who is majoring in graphic design takes.
As you can see, I did not major in that, so my eyes kind of glossed it over while she was saying.
She's like, Canva? So here's the thing. I bring that up to say there is nothing that irritates me more as a marketing professional than someone who does not truly value a good graphic designer. And so many times you will find, and I'm not calling people out for this, but you will find that they'll reach out to a graphic designer. They want their design redone and they want something that looks polished and fresh and something that looks really good. And yet they do not want to pay people for it. Right. And so I want to give graphic designers their due diligence because they go to school to get degrees in graphic design. And there's a lot more to it than what we see as Canva users. Okay. And I love me a good Canva. Okay. If you guys are unfamiliar, Canva is a platform that you can use as a small owned business to go in and generate brochures, business cards, videos, all of that stuff. If you have not checked it out, highly, highly, highly recommend that you go do that right now. Chelsea spends hours on this thing.
I love Canva. I really do. I spend all of my time on Canva. I mean, I make all of the social media posts. I'll make flyers, brochures, price lists, menu, all of it.
The nice thing is they have a ton of uploaded templates. And so if you are not graphically inclined like I am, it's not my jam. You can go in there and take a template and customize it. And it's they add so many features that it's very, easy to use, user friendly. But the thing is, there does come a time when you have to consider going outside of that Canva template and hiring a graphic designer. And so that's what we're talking about today. When should a small business owner consider hiring a graphic designer?
Absolutely. I mean, guys, there's a time and place for everything. There's some scenarios where you should not be trying to create this content by yourself. I have a really great example. We actually, for a client, set up a billboard. And I had created a design. When I sent it in to the billboard company, their graphic designer looked at it and made all of these changes because he knows what is going to work on a billboard, how many words should be on it so that people will actually be able to comprehend the information, how big does this have to be? Where does this go? He understood the assignment, basically.
Well, probably because he does it every day.
Well, exactly. But that's a great example of, even though I'm a marketing professional, that doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing. Like, you got to listen to these graphic designers when they're telling you that something's not going to work.
Yeah. So let me just say this. Marketing professionals, we go to school for marketing, okay? And we are not taught graphic design. We are also not taught copywriting in any sense.
No.
We are also not taught how to put up websites. Any of the stuff that we do on that end, we are self-taught, or we have invested the time to go back and get educated on that as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's one of the things where a lot of people confuse it. So they think as a marketing person, you know how to do the graphics, or as a marketing person, you know how to throw up a website. There are lots of people that can do that stuff because they have gone in and learned it over the years, and now it's part of their experience. But for the most part, they are very separate professions.
Absolutely. Well, a great way to think about it is, you're a small business owner. You did not go to school for accounting, but you're doing all of that accounting work. You didn't go to school for inventory, but you're figuring it out. A lot of marketing professionals end up just figuring out how to do this stuff because so many people expect them to know it. We didn't learn this stuff, at least not in schooling.
Yeah.
Not in our education. If we learned anything, it was on the fly.
It's through experience for sure. And so the one thing with this episode, what I want to do is I do want to equip small business owners into feeling like, okay, maybe now is the time for me to consider hiring a graphic designer, because it can get a little, like, when should I pull the trigger, or, how much is it going to cost me? So I want to start by saying that if it helps, if you are intimately knowledgeable of your material, okay? So if you have been creating your brochures or your business cards or your flyers, that's good. That's not a bad thing, right? You know what content you've put in there, how it's worded, wordsmithing, verbiage, all of that stuff. A graphic designer is going to come in whenever you want them to amplify that design, okay? And so if you are currently using Canva and you feel like you have tapped out and you're like, I just don't know how to make this better, and no amount of me fooling around with it, and at some point it is not beneficial for you to sit there and spend hours trying to do this. At some point you might as well just pay a professional to do it. So a graphic designer can help whenever you feel like you need to elevate your branding. And what helps, though, is for you to come in either with an idea. Now, I don't recommend that you go in there and you say like, hey, this is exactly how it has to be. I think you need to, in order to get the best out of a graphic designer, I think you need to be able to let them play a little bit. And that means allowing them to maybe bring 2 or 3 ideas to the table for you, right? And so that is probably the starting point. If you have felt lately like you need an elevated brand or an image for your brand and you just cannot make that happen, you need to reach out for help.
Absolutely. Another good rule of thumb, at least for me, is if you really want to go for a nice polished look in your advertising, go with a graphic designer. I mean, for social media ads and that sort of stuff, it's great for you to play around by yourself. But like if you're going to be advertising in a magazine or in a newspaper, something like that, I mean, a lot of times they actually have their own graphic designers. And if you're able to use that resource, I mean, it's there for you. If for some reason they wouldn't want you to use their graphic designer, which I don't know why they wouldn't, but you can negotiate with them and add that as part of your ad bundle.
Yeah, and Chelsea's right. So here's the thing is they do have newspapers, television agencies, billboard companies, all hire graphic designers to be on their team. And so what that means is, like Chelsea said in her example, when we were doing a billboard for a client, Chelsea did a rough outline of what her vision was or what we were wanting or the text we were wanting to put on there. And so here's what's interesting is, because trust me, I've done a ton of billboards. Billboards are very specific and you don't want a lot of text because people are driving like 60 miles an hour past the billboard. So, right, like long websites, phone numbers, all that stuff isn't super effective. But what does help is telling them everything you want on there and then knowing that it's going to be pared down.
Yes.
Okay. So like knowing that stuff is going to be left off. And so handing it over to the graphic designer the way Chelsea did, she basically was like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. And he went back in and he was like, great, this is what's going to be effective.
Yes.
It's going to be taking that off, taking this off, changing this over here and X, Y, and Z and using this imagery. And so that's what you're paying a graphic designer for. Remember all those classes that I listed at the beginning of this podcast, they actually get schooled on this stuff. Okay. They learn about the design stuff, what works typically to catch the eye. They learn about fonts. Y'all, very boring stuff. They learn about fonts, but I can tell you there's something strange whenever I'm looking through a brochure. I can tell you when I don't like a font, when I'm like, oh, that's like super bulky, like it makes it hard to read. I can't tell you which font, well, I kind of can, which font is better on paper. Different mediums require different things, okay?
fonts.
A billboard's going to require something different than a brochure. And so you want someone to come in that's going to help you and be able to just assist you with telling you what would probably work best. What you don't want to do, though, is you don't just want to go to a graphic designer and expect them to be a copywriter. Okay. It helps when you have framework and you have your verbiage. Now they can help you move it around. They can make suggestions and recommendations, but do not ask them to start stuff from scratch. Do not reach out to a graphic designer and say, put a brochure together for me. Here's my website.
How about you explain what a copywriter is in case anyone might be thinking, wait, I thought that is what a graphic designer did.
Yeah. So a copywriter, their main job description, or I guess their main trait, is going to be to go in and actually be a wordsmith. Okay. So when you talk about having a headline, whether that headline is on a Facebook ad or whether they are writing out a brochure or writing out the verbiage to your website, they can tell you what they're writers. Okay. That's exactly what they are. So basically they're going to tell you what is going to catch someone's attention. I've spent a lot of time in communication, in marketing, and doing this kind of stuff. I honestly think of myself as a little funnel. What I tell people is I'm like, give me all of the information and basically just let me pare it down and to generate and make it look a little more polished. Okay. And so that's basically what a copywriter is going to do. You give them all of the info and then they're going to tell you, okay, this is what's going to capture someone's attention. This is what's going to make them feel connected to you. They have a way with storytelling.
Yeah.
So that's copywriting. Graphic design is not part of, there are some graphic designers that can do the copywriting, but my point in kind of going through all that is to say you get the best work out of a graphic designer when you allow them to do what they do best, which is graphic design.
Yes. You're thinking about hiring a graphic designer. How do you do that? It doesn't have to be super expensive. Now, I'm not saying just hire a random person who is a graphic designer. I would do my research, but a great resource is Fiverr.
Yeah, absolutely. Fiverr, Upwork.
Yep.
There are some of these online directories that actually have portfolios attached to them. And that's what I like about Fiverr and these things, right? So like you could go on there and people have to upload or they build a robust portfolio online. So you feel like you're getting a preview of what they could potentially do for you. And some of them, I'll tell you, when I've worked with graphic designers before, everybody's got their own style. Okay, so there's someone who, they'll make stuff kind of look like a mural, right? Kind of like, cool, hip, all that. And then you have other people that they're a little more polished, right? So they do more of the corporate setting stuff. So I think just depending on what you want for your business, that's where you find a graphic designer that's lined up for that.
Absolutely. And again, coming back to make sure you do the research. Don't just hire a random person. There's a lot of stuff on Fiverr, even though you do have to upload a portfolio. You still, read reviews, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And there are ways, let's talk about the different ways that you can work with the graphic designer. So you can utilize those platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. And basically you go in there and you select the graphic designer you want and you message them and you tell them what the project is. And on their profile, they tell you how how much it is per hour, what their rate is per hour to hire them, right? So if you pitch them a project that's going to be 5 hours, they're going to charge you an hourly rate of, let's say, I don't know, $85 an hour times 5, and then that's going to be your total for the project. Then they tell you very specifically on the platform how long you can expect to have that project completed in. Okay, so there's a lot of information and detail that goes into it, and it's a great way to hash that out. Now, if you don't want to do something through Fiverr, because we love small business owners and we want to support a local graphic designer here in Charleston, South Carolina, we would find them. We would reach out to them, and then we would negotiate with them and tell them either you can do a price per project, you can do a retainer fee. So say, hey, can we work together over the next 4 months? And then here are the projects we'll cover. Okay. But you have to be very specific about that. And both of you have to be agreeable to it. And then you want to attach timelines to that. Okay. And then on top of it, you could also just say, hey, I want to charge you a flat hourly rate. So however long it takes for you to do these 3 things, you charge me per hour, send me an invoice, and then I'll pay that. So there are lots of, you could do some pretty neat arrangements around it. My recommendation though is remember, if you are deciding to do or to outsource to a graphic designer, it means that you're looking to elevate your brand in general, right? And so you want consistency. And what you want to do then is you want to be able to work with them over time. So I would not recommend just using a graphic designer for maybe like 2 projects and then saying, peace out, I'm going to use someone else for another 3 projects, but maybe establish a relationship to where you say, I only need these 2 things done right now, but down the road, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And so you would go back to them, same style, they're familiar with your business, they can really help you elevate it.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Yeah, you want to make sure that when you're picking your graphic designer, it's someone that you're picking for the long haul. Another great thing to remember when you're deciding on who you want to go with for a graphic designer is what their process is. Think about what kind of files are they going to send you? Are they going to send you a PDF? Are they going to send you like a design file? Are you going to have to send it to the printers, or did you negotiate a deal and maybe they know a printer? These are things that you might not necessarily think about, but you do want to have them in mind when you are negotiating and talking with your graphic designer.
And there is no such thing as a stupid question, y'all. Listen, if you have a question about the way something works and this is your first time hiring a graphic designer, just ask it. Just ask it. There's no harm. Better that you ask it up front and that and are well equipped. And if they give you a response that is not going to be satisfactory to you, if you're looking for somebody to also send the file to a printer and print it for you, and you're looking just to pay them for that, then you need to know up front if they say, no, I'm just going to send you the design files and you do whatever with it. So
also keep in mind, your budget, you're a small business. Graphic designers, like everything, there is a range in price. If you want someone with years of experience, it's going to be a little bit higher on that range. If you're looking at someone right out of college, they are going to be on the lower end of that spectrum for cost. Now, they're also going to be on that low side of the spectrum when it comes to experience as well.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it too. It doesn't mean that the quality of work is going to be any less. They just may have a little less experience under their belt. I think the other part of it too that I want to mention is the other option you have is, let's say you don't want to do Upwork or something and you don't want to hire a local photographer. Let's say you want to bring someone in-house. You can do that. And that, like Chelsea said, is based on your budgeting and what you have set up as far as personnel. Now, some industries, it may behoove them to get a graphic designer a lot quicker than other industries, right? But I do think the one advantage you have to somebody coming in-house or bringing them on as part of your team is they begin to intimately know your products and services. And I cannot tell y'all how great that is. It's a lot easier when somebody knows the lingo, they know more about your products and services because they're able to really help put that in front of people in a graphics.
And it's just like how these big companies that hire outside marketing agencies to do their advertising on social media or something like that, you can tell when someone does not really know the business because you can feel the detachment. So just like, social media marketing is great when you have someone who really understands your small business. It's going to be really great if you have a graphic designer that really understands your small business.
Yeah. And I think if you're to that point where you're strongly considering, you're like, oh my gosh, we have the other thing is you don't want to bring someone on board that's going to be bored. So you need to be sure that you're pumping out a lot of content or a lot of stuff that they're able to do. And I don't just mean business cards and brochures. I mean, you guys need to be having a strategic plan put together on projects that they're going to be assisting you with throughout the year, because there's nothing worse than having an employee come on board and then they're just twiddling their thumbs and they get bored and then they're like, what am I doing here? And it's a whole fiasco. So just don't do that. Let's say you wanted to bring them in-house. So knowing your budget and knowing, okay, I'm ready to pay them anywhere from $35,000 to, I don't know, whatever your budget is, $80,000, who knows? Or you could always reach out to a local tech college or a design college and ask them and say, hey, do you guys mind letting people know that we have an internship available? Now that's going to require a little coordinating on your part because same thing, you're going to have to, talk to the school about that and all of that. But it could be a great way to get someone in there to let them build up their experience and it benefits you as well.
This is on topic, but also not on topic.
You're notorious for saying that. This is off topic, but I promise it's on topic.
When I was graduating from USC, we had a senior project, a senior thesis, where we actually worked with a local company who came in and said, hey, we need help with our marketing. We did a whole marketing campaign. We set up everything. It was a deep dive. I mean, it was my senior project. Did you do anything like that?
So I'm a little way further removed than you are from college, so I can't really remember. But I will say, I feel like we did case studies where we were doing stuff and we were building businesses. So we had to put marketing plans together for those businesses and then do market stuff. But I don't think we actually worked with I know what you're talking about though, so basically the business is in need. They go to the university and they say, hey, if you have a marketing class that allows for projects, senior projects and stuff, can we be one of the people that they do? And then the professor agrees to it. And so then you're getting something, right? You're getting a built out marketing plan.
Yeah. Yep. We completely.
What business was it? Do you remember? Or industry?
I do. It was Proof alcoholic ice cream. And I first off, I remember
Chelsea did a lot of research.
Well, no. What I was going to say is I remember this because for half of the year, I wasn't 21 yet. So I couldn't even try the product. But okay, I distinctly remember because first off, I was so proud of this campaign. They had come and they said, we just don't even know. We could even rebrand. We don't know what we're doing. We really need help. So we actually rebranded them as Bond.
Bond.
Bond. So part of their value proposition was that they were actually bonding the molecules differently than other alcoholic ice creams. So it was going to be a stronger flavor, taste. So our whole thing was bond with bond. So bond over the ice cream with your family and your friends, come together with this ice cream.
Did they end up rebranding to that?
No, there's 6 different groups. So they got 6 different marketing campaigns and they ignored all of it.
Yeah.
They didn't use any of it, which that is up to you.
Yeah.
I do remember that my marketing professor was very upset because he had graded our projects, and he knew, like, hey, some of these have really good ideas. You should really listen to some of this. And he was friends with the person who
owned it.
And he was like, their marketing, like, there's no strategy here. So
Looking
this
up
will
right
be great
now,
for
are
them.
they still around?
They are still around because I've seen them. They haven't grown as much as I think they could have. I still just distinctly remember that my professor was so annoyed because they said, these are all great ideas, but I think we're just going to continue doing what we're doing.
Well, and I guess that's that's their prerogative as a business. That's why you have a business. You get to do what you want. But I do think that's where kind of going back to what we're talking about, it's nice to have a professional that's actually versed in it and that kind of knows the strategies behind the reason why you do certain things, right? The reason why you use block text up here and different subtitle text or whatever it is. I mean, there is rhyme and reason and science behind some of it, most of it. And so I think that's where, like you're saying, if you're going to hire someone to help you and assist you with this stuff, then you may actually want to pay a little bit of attention to them. So in your mind, you might have an idea of what you want, but be open and receptive to other ideas because they may bring you something better.
And you know what? If you're feeling iffy about a design or like, you're like, why did you put this here or something like that? Just ask.
Yeah.
Just ask them, hey, why did you use this font? Or why did you put this here? I promise you that they have a reason. And sometimes too, it's just miscommunication. Like sometimes you may not have communicated the entire like vision or all of the information. And so it may not be that they're leaving something out intentionally or that they're, prioritizing or focusing on something else in the design. It might just be that you just haven't communicated it properly. So I do think, to your point, that's where, communication works best, especially when you are talking about design work, and especially when a lot of this is, some of it is personal preference, y'all. That's the thing. You may hire a graphic designer too, and they might just not get what you are telling them. Like they might not get your vision. So that's why I do think if you are ready to elevate and to take that next step into hiring a graphic designer because you are tired of doing your own stuff internally, or you just don't want to use Canva anymore, or you've outgrown those and you want to invest into growing your small business and hiring that graphic designer, then I do think, you want to take the due diligence to make sure you're hiring someone that's going to fit your business and fit your style of working too. I'll tell you guys, I've worked with a lot of graphic designers over the year. Each one of them has a different style. Yeah.
There are some people that, sure, they'll take recommendations. They'll sit there and talk to you all day long about what they're going to do or how they're going to do it. And there are some that basically are like, give me my project and then just let me go work and let me present two things to you. And then you pick from the two. And so you have to figure out, how do I work best? How is my business going to benefit the most? And then can I find someone to really fit into that? If you are looking to hire a graphic designer, we strongly recommend it. Graphic designers are great to work for, and they do help to elevate your brand and your business. And another thing, if you're looking to start off with a graphic designer, one of the first projects you can have them do is to put together branding guidelines. If you do not have branding guidelines, they can put together what fonts you need to consistently use. Of course, you approve all this, the colors, all of that stuff. And it's a nice little PDF that then you could go and send to anybody that you work with in the future, whether that be vendors, other graphic designers, or, website people that are building your website. It's very useful. So if that's a project that you don't have done yet, branding guidelines, graphic designer can help you put that together.
And if for some reason you need a template, we actually do have a template on our website, The Seasoned Marketer. It's $3. It's just the PDF that you can customize. So maybe you want to take that and meet with your graphic designer and say, hey, let's fill this out together.
So I think that's it for our podcast episode today. Friendly reminder, subscribe and share this with any small business owner that you think could benefit from this information.
Yes. And if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, again, just email us at help@theseasonmarketer.com. We want to talk about topics that you want to hear about. So just let us know.
Be the best SOB you could be.